Frank O'Connor, who writes wonderful stories about Ireland. And one of his stories is a heartbreaking thing about a dance that they gave. They give those, they call parties over there a dance for a a brother and a sister who are leaving for America and going, and everybody stays up all night at the dance, and then they go off in the morning, the young...
Well, that's like we used to have they call it a farewell do. Farewell do.
Well, it's a heartbreaking thing. I can't tell you how heartbreaking it is. And he writes wonderful, wonderful stories, and I do want to remember that, to get her a copy of his stories. His name was Michael O'Donovan, and he was a civil servant in Ireland, and apparently you couldn't write or be published or anything like that if you were in the civil service. You had to just have your job. You were not allowed to do anything else. So he made up a name and he became Frank O'Connor. But he was born in Cork, and he was in prison during the Civil War. He was, did you know the name Michael Collins?
Yes, I heard Michael Collins.
Okay. He was on Michael Collins was one of the people who went, and he's really a national hero in Ireland, and he's a personal hero of mine. He's one of the people who went to England and signed the treaty which partitioned Ireland with David Lloyd George. That's that song, I Went to See David. And Winston Churchill was one of the people there. The man who said, I did not become Her Majesty's first minister to preside over the dissolution of the British Empire. Anyway, he came back and he brought this, he thought it was the best deal he could get and it would give them peace, and he presented it to them and they went crazy and it started a civil war. De Valera and that group and Michael Collins and the other group, and he was really a martyr because he was shot. Frank O'Connor was on Michael Collins' side. He was in prison for a long time, and then he wrote these absolutely wonderful, wonderful stories about Irish life, village life and country life that are, and I bet you've never even read one of them, and they're wonderful, wonderful stories. So I want to get you a copy of those. They're all short stories. He writes short stories.
You wrote that one about confession.
My first confession.
It was a wonderful, funny.
Yeah. A little boy goes in and he's been told to make his first confession, and he's been told a thing or two and everything, and they try and explain to him the commandments and sin. And he gets something confused in his mind.
Thank you.
And he goes in and tells the priest that he has committed adultery because he has slept with his grandmother. Sweet as anything.
You know what I'd like to know a little bit about? It's when you began to realize that you would have to leave Ireland.
I was just going to say the same thing. Mary, you were the first one who came.
But we
How did you feel?
realized it all along because
Did they tell you you had to go?
You hear what Mama said? They realized it all along. They knew they'd have to go.
As the people grew up,
Since
and
you
at a certain age, they all
came
came.
to talk.
How did you feel about
But I mean,
that as
you know,
grew
how
up?
did you deal
I
with
tell you,
it?
it's like this.
Wasn't it a
Jelly.
frightening
You
thing?
didn't have a choice.
Well, weren't you scared? At the thought of it, even growing up.
You know,
you would have
knowing
to
that
know.
you'd have to...
No, you didn't. I mean, you didn't have a choice. You
Jelly,
weren't scared.
That's a different feeling. You know,
You knew you had to go. You knew you had to get out of the house.
But you were the first one. Are you saying
Oh,
you weren't
God.
scared when you came to a strange country? You weren't scared?
I
To go
wasn't.
on the boat, totally, I mean, how
I
old were you,
loved the boat.
17?
I loved every minute
I don't
of
think
it.
my mother, I don't know if you were scared, but I know there was bitterness in you about having to go.
Are you kidding?
Mary, how did you
I
say
was glad to go. I would be over there and wouldn't have to fight to go to a dance or go here or go there.
But I
Had to
still
fight
think
for
you
every
had
little
some
thing. I was so
bitterness.
glad to go.
Weren't you scared? Didn't your heart...
I was out
Great.
here, how long was I out here when I went back? 4 years, I think.
Yes.
When I came, I was here 4 years and I went back on a trip. Well, I'm telling you, I never was so happy to get out of any
That was
place
the
in my whole
second
life.
time, Mama.
I
and
got this. I used to get those
I know
awful
that.
terrible
She got a
sore
bad
throats.
sore throat and she was
And,
afraid they wouldn't let her in again.
and I wasn't a citizen. I had my first papers.
Right.
that I wasn't
She
a
broke
citizen.
out in cold sores or something,
Oh,
and she was
God,
afraid
Terrified that you wouldn't
And
get
I said,
vaccinated.
Right.
The second time.
Yes.
I find it so hard to believe
That you
that
weren't
you were
frightened to come to a
frightened and
strange
angry.
country.
Angry at
Why
your
would you
parents.
get- you-
No,
you
no,
were-
Be
you
pushed
were
out of your
there, there was
home?
nothing there. You
All
couldn't
right,
do
wait.
no place. You couldn't do
All
Well,
right,
I know,
I
I
find it
know.
hard. This is all very logical, Ma. All I'm saying is I find it
How
hard
do
to
you
believe that
feel?
inside yourself.
I
All
cry every
right.
night.
There.
Cry every night to go to sleep.
Oh,
So you did.
so
I
you
did.
did.
But
How old
You-
were you, Mary?
I came here in March and I was 18 in June.
You were Mommy, that's a kid.
That's a kid.
And
That's
I
a
was
little
inexperienced. I mean,
He put on a boat.
Had more sense and no more than I did.
From a country
I know.
village with
Now-
a farm
now let me
life,
tell- now let me
knowing
tell
And
you.
nothing.
spent on a boat.
And
New
no
York
school.
City.
No school.
No
schooling.
school.
And no
Then
teaching.
you,
that's
what the
well,
hell wants to
you know,
stay
like the
there?
facts of life.
So then now you
See, my mother was
Wait,
pregnant.
wait.
My mother was pregnant with Mickey. Mickey was
At
born.
the time when you left?
Yes, I left home the 28th of February and Mickey was born the 19th of April, right? The 9th of April, right? I knew she was having a baby. I had to get the hell out of that house and no more babies.
You'd had it with the baby.
With the babies. And the woman next door, Manny Bones, she asked Manny Bones, that was the neighbor next door, her name was Manny Bones, Manny Kelly, she's Lan's wife, if I
Lan's
knew where babies came from. And yet she let me go 3,000
Your mother
miles.
asked if you knew?
She didn't ask me, she asked the neighbor's
I
wife.
know that. Well, it's
Let
not
me
from the
go
wind. you
3,000
all
miles
took it.
away, a kid. Which naturally
Mary
was.
Waldron says the same thing. She says they let her go and she knew nothing.
Well,
That's
I knew
what
where
she
babies
said.
came from.
Well,
I
we
knew.
knew
She
that
says
we knew a hell of
she-
a lot more than they thought we knew.
Well, I know, but the point
I
is
knew more
they
than I-
didn't know what you knew and they let you go all the same without
Young girl.
young girls.
They didn't care as long as you went and sent the money.
I
And
don't
maybe
believe.
on my
Mama, I
Mama.
don't believe
Mama,
that.
you're
Well,
a
you don't
parent,
believe it?
Mama.
Ask them.
Come
over
on,
there.
Mama, you're
No, wait a
mother
minute, Mama, you're a
yourself.
mother.
Come
You
on,
know
now, can
better.
you believe that any mother didn't care? Could send her child
Never,
for
never, never, never.
I don't believe
A
it.
mother
I
who
don't
puts
believe
her
it.
baby
mother is
on the
saying-
doorstep feels more than that.
Let me give
She
my
said,
2
my
cents.
mother is trying to say that your mother
Didn't care,
All
Mama.
she wanted was for you to go and send money back.
I
That's
don't believe
Now,
that.
I got a letter. I was
I
a
don't.
kid. I was a kid.
I think she steeled herself, and she didn't allow herself.
Because she couldn't
She knew
bear
she
with
had to
helpless
let you
others.
go.
Exactly.
She was
If I knew I had to let my kids go like that, I don't know what I would do. I don't know how I deal with
You
it.
know,
Now,
Kathleen,
wait a minute now.
you,
You know, I was a kid. I came here. I had to pay Aunt Helen £20. How many dollars did that be?
Oh, I don't know how
more
to-
than
how-
that, they're more
I
than
don't know how
that.
to-
25. It was about $100.
1965.
That's a
Yeah,
lot of
that's
money.
I
and
That is
I
a
worked
lot
as
of
kitchen maid
money.
for $40 a month. Every
That's
stitch
right.
of clothes I had,
$40 a month, paying off $100.
Kitchen.
Oh my
every
God.
stitch of clothes I had went back. I had to pay for my shoes. I had to pay for the couple of dresses I got. I had to pay for underwear. Pay for every godless thing, let's face
Yes.
it. Well, and $40 a month, where could I get the money? And Helen, I think, took $245 of my money before I got a nickel to my name extra
Yep.
car fare.
Yep.
Well, in the fall, October, I was up in the country in Mount Kiss going to a kitchen work, cleaning the stove and doing all kinds of slavery work. In the fall, I get it, and this is the God's honest truth, as sure as Jack is in heaven. I hope he is. I get a letter in the fall. We are I'm very broken-hearted. I feel very bad. I feel awful. We never see the colour of your money yet. And that is no law. And for
I know.
Christ-
Listen. I was over there, and she was only gone a few months, and she used to write home, and she'd open the letter and see if there was no money in it, and she'd take the letter and throw it on the floor and start crying, and she'd kill us then.
So I know that, but
She'd
start
kill us
crying,
You know that this is true.
Mama.
God forbid
Why
I would
was she
lie.
crying?
And she'd kill. Then we would
I
let
know
go
that.
of her place.
She was-
And I said to myself, well, God, if I ever get out of this place and go over there, I don't care where I'll get the money. I'll steal it. I'll get clothes and send it home so the kids won't have to go through what we went through.
All right, like Eileen said, she started to cry.
Maybe she needed it so desperately. Did you ever?
Or
She
maybe,
did not need it.
no, wait a minute. Maybe she thought.
Uncle Jim left the
maybe
money.
She thought the way you thought.
No, maybe she thought that when you came over here, you had
That's what I'm
that
saying.
if you didn't send it back, it meant you didn't care. You had so much. It wasn't that you
Remember
couldn't
what you
spare it.
thought about the streets were paved with gold over here. Remember how you
I
said
thought
that?
that when I
Here, Mama said that.
When I-
She thought
I
the
did. I didn't
yes.
think the street was paved with gold, but I
But
never
you
thought
had
that I
no
had to work.
idea
When
that
I
you
came
had
over
to
here
work.
and saw what I had to do, I was only getting $30
I know
a month.
that.
I know.
And
That
there
That
was
you
no
just came
washing
and the
machine
money
there.
just
I
poured
know.
in.
Kids, I had to boil
And
the
we all-
diapers.
And I know that they do
I
that.
did all
Patty
the
Murray
wash,
used to tell me
everything
a
under the
story.
shirts.
When he went
Because
over,
the shirts would be
had
sent
this
out. I
man
had the
that
little
he,
kid do.
it was not a relative, but a man in the town where he came
from.
from, that he got to know,
I
and he was
and
taken
washed
up
them
to
and
have
I
a
know.
big
No
dairy farm
washing machine,
with
you know.
quite
Ah.
well
Boy,
to
did
do
I
or
was in a
something
great
like
big
that.
boy.
It
I
was
was
something
great
like
big
35
boilers.
years old, and Patty said he could
And
talk.
do
Well,
all that.
you ever
I
think
know.
about getting
$30,000
married?
So
And
when
he
I
said,
saw what I
oh,
had
and
to
I
do, and I
do,
thought,
you know, but you know,
God,
Patty,
did I
you know,
ever
we're
think-
not well fixed
Because
like
the
you
Yanks
are.
used to come home and just have all kinds of
We have to take our
beautiful
time over here.
clothes
He
and
had
make
like
believe
4
that they-
times as
all
a
they had to do
big
was
dairy
dance at
farm
the
and
door.
everything else.
You know,
They
that
think
they
we're all, they
stories.
still
Yes.
do.
I used to believe all
Richest
that
creases
crap.
over here. Patty was living in Brown Place
Well,
on
even at
138th
this,
Street, you know, in a
didn't care, but I was
1-bedroom,
back-
2-bedroom
I was there for
apartment.
6 weeks and I got
And this
clothes.
guy is saying to
I
him,
said,
and
"My
a
God, if they were
longshoreman
very
down in the
strict
dock.
in any little
You know,
thing,
Patty,
I know.
I can't just
I
get
said, "Oh,
married.
my
We're not
God,"
like in
I said,
America.
"I
We have to.
I never there. I just don't get heaved up. They won't let me back, and I don't know what I'll do. I think I would kill myself.
I know.
And that's why I didn't go. I didn't have no use for going back again. But there's nothing there for me.
You know, you get
All
on
I-
the
all
train.
I never had
And yet
nothing.
she-
I wasn't even let go to school, and there was nothing there for me. Whatever I made
I
out of
know.
myself,
I know
I
that.
did it myself out
I-
here.
I know you did,
you know,
Mama.
This,
I
is,
know
Yeah,
the,
you
this
did.
is the best country in
Can
the
I-
world.
But
Yeah,
that, you're
nobody would-
absolutely right.
Nobody
You're
would-
absolutely.
Nobody would
Because if
argue
you
that,
work
but
and you can
I
make
just
something
get
out of
the
yourself
feeling.
here.
Well, it
No
used to
matter
be.
who
It's
you are,
getting,
if
it's
you're
getting
a
a
hard
little
worker,
tight now,
you
you
can.
know.
Yes,
It's getting
a little
tight.
tighter.
You understand that now.
Well, that's
There used
that's
to
my
be
experience.
jobs for people without skills in New York City. That is gradually disappearing.
Well,
It
there is no domestics anymore, I understand.
There's
If nobody
nothing.
wants
They
to,
won't let them in. First of all, they won't let
They won't let them
domestics in.
then
they
it
would
was
come.
everybody that came.
The domestics we
everybody
get
came.
now are the illegals from South America.
And you know,
Those
that
are
was a good
domestics
job
we
for
have.
us. We
I
lived
have,
in.
I
Yes,
have, I have a
and we
cleaning
had our
woman
food
who's
and,
from Portugal.
You know,
Sure.
And
We
she,
didn't-
I
we didn't
had
know
a,
anything
I had a
else.
cleaning woman
Listen,
from
boy, they
Haiti.
taught
Fewer and
well,
fewer
then
people
woman
can
afford
afford
them
to
unless you have
have
a
that
domestic.
kind
I'm
of
going to
food.
school, and now I'm going to get a job in a bank.
lot
They want me a job.
people
If
here,
I
you know,
don't
less
have
and less
enough
people
money,
can
what do you
afford
think?
to have
domestic.
anything help.
She's asking
Well,
me.
you know,
Her
the
employer.
kind of people that
And I
used to
told
be
her
able to
that
afford it would
because
hire
her
you.
English was terrible,
Those kind
and
of
they were
people
willing
on
to
that
take
level
it. She
can't
should
afford
have
it
taken it.
today. I mean, look at
Banks
what?
don't pay a
Look
lot
at
of money,
what
but they
Joe
give
and I are
benefits.
making, okay?
So the next
Now,
woman I got is
I
a
am
Portuguese
sure that
woman
people
who lives
that
down on the
hire
island.
probably
You know, but
do as
everybody
well
wants to do
for
better.
their
They
time.
wanted the
Relatively.
education.
Exactly.
So all
we
the while
couldn't
she was
afford
doing
the-
house cleaning, she
No.
was also going to
You're
school
absolutely right.
and learning how to type and
look
things
what
like
I'm
that to get
making all
circles.
by
You know,
myself.
but that's the American dream, isn't it? And those aliens, those illegal people work harder than anyone, and for
my
nothing. They're
own
willing to
work.
take any kind of work
Because I'm not
and do
willing
it,
to
and they
pay
don't,
what
like
it
American
costs.
workers
Yeah, what's
say,
the
and the
alternative?
union this and the union. But you see, well, I think it's wrong in many ways, you see, because one of the things, I know that everybody talks against the unions and everything, but one of the things that the unions did in this country was to make us the greatest common market in the world. We were our own best market
Yes,
for our
that's right.
own products.
Yes,
And
we
that's
were.
not happening.
Right.
And I'm for free trade too, but it is a bad thing what's going on. To have let competition for people, labor, win out is a very, very wrong
Particularly
thing.
when they're not doing the same thing. I mean, the
That's
quotas
right.
and things into that Japan
Yes.
sets up to make it impossible for our
They're
things
very-
to sell there.
They're very
And
protectionist with
Germany,
their own.
etc. You know,
That's right.
they keep
I don't
saying-
worry about Germany, but certainly the Hong Kong, I mean the garment manufacture in this this country. and those kinds of things in the competition with Asia about people who are really people who are working in conditions that shouldn't be allowed to human beings, and that we allow that to go on, and that companies will go over and be doing that kind of thing instead of paying people a decent wage is wrong. It really is. It's morally, ethically, every way you can think of wrong. And it upsets me greatly. And I don't know what to do about it. I mean, they go down south, and then when the unions come after them there, they go to Hong Kong.
Yes.
And you don't want to deprive those people, but those people will work for 2 cents an hour, starving to death. And that's why when Barbara says that she wants to write about she wants to study Spanish because she wants to write about Central America and everything, I really do want her to read The Year of the French and get her interest engaged in the Irish. I figure as long as she's going to be interested in a people, let her be interested in them and writing about the Irish and their problems. What did your grandmother talk to you about? Did she tell you stories?
She did not tell us stories.
Well, what did she talk to you about? You liked her, I know. What did she talk? Was there any conversation?
She was old. She didn't.
She was very old.
She was old.
When you were
She
very
was
little?
old. Yes, when we were very young, she was old, right, Mary?
Right.
And one
But
time,
we was terrible. I often think of you talk about the kids now, and her and me. She used to smoke a pipe, the clay pipe, and she'd say, "Light my pipe," and we get the match and we put it just as far as the
Tease
top,
her,
and then we'd pull it away. Oh, God, I used to tease her. And she said, "I will tell your father," but she never would tell on us
You
because
never,
he'd kill
never
us.
told. Never told.
I don't blame him either.
Yeah, she never
you
would tell
deserve
us.
to be killed.
Yes, I know. I often think of it.
One time there was a lot of kids in the house, and I guess we would make a noise or something, and she asked me for a light, and I gave her the light, and she said, "Geez, I'll light you." Poor old lady.
She was senile as long as I remember. So she was.
When you
I bet
say
I bet
senile?
she must be about 100 years old. Mary.
Very, very, very true.
Mama,
very
you say
old.
really senile? You mean she was childish, didn't make any sense?
No, I think
Senile
she was-
means your head goes,
No,
that's
well,
what that means.
No, I don't mean it in that sense.
Oh.
You mean just old?
Just
old.
Yes.
And she couldn't
frail
deal
and
with it.
more like
old
childish.
lady.
Oh.
Look at them
Was she
pictures you see in the
childish?
paper
More like
sometimes about them
childish than
106
senile.
years
More
old.
like childish.
I
Was
think
she
must
childish,
be.
really? She
was.
couldn't
She
talk?
was old.
Was she really childish,
very,
Mama?
old.
She was childish.
Was she?
She was
I
childish.
don't know. Yeah, that probably is.
You know, Uncle Tim died in this country, and Uncle Tim didn't have any will.
Was he
And-
married?
No.
No.
He's
Oh,
buried in Calvary.
And he had,
that's so interesting. You never told me that. Did you ever know
What have
that?
you think, guys, that I think of everything written down to tell you?
Well, not to write down but to tell it anyway.
Yeah, like,
Anyhow.
okay,
Fascinating.
yes.
I don't know. I thought maybe you knew. How do I know? Why don't you ask me these
Your
things?
great
I can't.
great uncle is buried in Calvary Hospital. Calvary
Yeah.
Cemetery.
Calvary
Excuse me,
Hospital.
cemetery. Cemetery.
All right,
That's
wait,
right,
Aunt
Joe's
Peggy's going
father
to...
is buried
Uncle
there.
Tim had a
And
will.
Tom Waldron.
Uncle Tim had a will, but it wasn't signed right. And he
was too near death when he made it.
he put in the will, anyhow, all this went through, I know, a gold watch for his brother Michael and a silver watch for his nephew Tim, a brother. And anyhow, there was, I know I got the first check, was £88 or something, but there was only
They had all
about,
kinds of money, you know.
they had all
That's
kinds
when we
of
were
money.
kids,
He
too.
was he
What
lived in
they
Flatbush.
did?
He lived in
Hello,
Flatbush.
Tim, they got money
Oh,
from
he lived in
his
Flatbush. He
will.
lived in Flatbush.
And
And he
Isn't
was
that interesting?
and he was partner. He was
his saloon
his
was,
3 sons in partnership.
I think they were feeling sorry for them that they had no money.
He had
They
money.
had to do the
I
bank.
had no
No,
idea whether
they
they did or
had
not.
money.
Well, if they had
They
it in
got
the
it from
bank,
Uncle
Mother,
Tim.
why would they have it in the bank?
but I don't think they got that much, Geraldine. I know,
They got my grandmother got 202 pounds.
I didn't know my grandmother got any.
It was not a hell of a lot of money,
No,
even in
a
those
lot,
days.
but, in those days, and over there it was a lot.
Well, it's
$1,000.
anyhow,
To $1,000. Yeah.
Anyhow, they had
See, it
lots.
had to go through the courts.
Substantial.
It didn't stand up in court. The will didn't stand up.
Oh.
He didn't have the right witnesses.
Oh, he didn't.
And
Yeah,
it
it wasn't
didn't-
done legally. Yeah.
And it didn't stand up in court. It had to be advertised in the papers for 6 months.
Yeah, if there was any.
And
See,
then-
if he owed
yes.
anybody anything, if there was any reason why one thing or another. And Helen went to the courts many, many times, you know, to try and get it straightened out. I took a couple of years or more.
It would.
You
Sure
know,
it would.
the biggest problem they said that there was no blood relation there.
To
see,
whom? He was a blood relation to
No
your
blood relation
father.
over here.
Here, in
Here.
this country.
See, Nan wasn't. Nan wasn't.
She
good luck.
wasn't. That's
Yeah.
right. She was on your
And they were,
mother's
you
side.
know what?
Ha.
They too. I don't know if you remember this. They were going to send me over.
How old were you?
I was about 10.
To
and-
do what?
To be the blood relation.
Because
Ah!
I was the oldest. Me was
You were going to
Right,
send.
right away now. Yeah, I reckon I was going to
What
send
were they going to
Peggy, they were going to send Peggy.
Not the only one you wanted to go. You
What are they going to send you for?
To have a blood
To be
relation.
the blood relation.
Oh, I see.
There
relation.
was blood relations here, but they didn't want to be have anything to do with cousins or something.
They didn't want to even, I wasn't going. I was too young.
Oh, the baby, the little baby.
I have to tell you about your mother. You know, when Kitty was...
David, tell her to be old. Yes,
Shut up, Mama, and let her tell it.
better be
Tell her that all
Shut
right.
up.
This
Let her
is-
Tell it.
It better be good, or else send the hell out of
Go ahead, Aunt Peggy.
It's
Go
not
ahead.
too exciting, but when Kitty was baptized, I was 4 years and 4 months. And, you know, my Aunt Kate and Manny and Pay Hines, they all loved your mother. And anyhow, they were making hay across country. And when the godparents came home from the christening, they always came over to the house. So Tim was too small and I was the next one, so they brought me a bag of sweets. So I said to your mother, come on over, Nellie, come on over to Heinz's with me. She said, all right, you give me one candy. All right, she said, one more. One more. I had the whole bag. But after she had the whole bag, but she did come at me at the
Oh,
end.
sporty of her.
The whole bag.
She was always smart.
She was indeed, and we learned that from her.
Well, Mama, didn't you once tell me they were going to send you to study hat making or to be a milliner or to
Yes,
something
yes.
like that?
They wanted me to be a member.
And what happened with that? You didn't want to be or what?
I said I would go if she'd buy me a bicycle.
Good for you, Mama.
Remember
Good
that,
for you.
Peggy? She wouldn't buy me the bicycle. I said I Oh, I wanted
she
the
didn't get the
bicycle so
bicycle.
bad. I did my 2 eyes for the
I
bicycle.
know that.
Well, you
I said
Well,
I'd go if you buy me a bicycle, but they wouldn't buy me. And they had money because they got it, and she had it in the back to cut you out. You
And
kidding?
they
You see, I
but Mama,
Don't be taking their part. I know.
no, I
I
do
mean,
think
I don't
that one of
think-
the things that you might think about is that maybe she felt poorer. They felt poor.
They felt poor.
They were
How could
poor.
they help if they feel poor? They had the money.
Because, oh my.
First put
They
down-
didn't get half as much, quarter what they should have. And then, you know,
That
there's
doesn't mean that they didn't get something.
course.
They
No.
got-
Generation after generation.
Exactly.
And then
we recognize that in ourselves. Now, let's face it, if you want to talk about something, we talk about all the time.
Yes.
I don't even know if you understand really how successful we are. We talk about one generation off a farm. Both our parents were born on a farm. When I think about the way I live now and how the money that I make, the position that I'm in, and one generation off a farm, we sit around sometimes and we just
talk
say,
about it.
it's really hard to believe what we came from and what we have achieved here in this country. Sometimes you don't feel like that just because of where you came from. Sometimes when I go out and I'm going to buy a cloth coat and I'm going to pay a Pauline Frigere cloth coat and I'm going to pay $400, I have an anxiety attack after I do it. You know, what is it? Why you're paying $400 for a
Exactly,
cloth
not
coat?
just that. It's just we don't live. Joe and I, we talk about the fact that when we got married, we had nowhere to go but up. Right? I mean, we
That's
came out
right.
of 2 apartments on the top floor in the Bronx,
Yes.
and we did go up. We still don't live or what we're making. But you know who does? They do.
The kids do.
They don't make anything, but they live. They live like we should be living.
apologize.
No, I'm not, Joey. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying it follows what I
They've never known.
That's
They don't
if
know.
You're always what your child
They
is.
always thought they had it on. They always, although they didn't, you know, when they were living, they were
they
living
have
on
some
the
money
top
in the bank.
floor
They,
of Walton
they
Avenue.
felt
But
poor.
Anywhere.
I am
They
earning
weren't able to spend it.
$35,000 a year right now.
35.
I am earning $35,000 a
Well,
year.
my
Peggy
mama
and
sure.
Kathleen
She's a
earn
very
very
successful
nearly that.
person.
I am paying $500 a month rent. I mean, we live in ways that I guess would have been undreamed of. My mother, the last raise I got, when I told her I was earned, she said, I raised four of you on $4,000 a year. Now, admittedly, with inflation and everything, the $4,000 was worth a lot more. But just think about the difference between what she did and what the money I have. I mean, it is just
And you're
incredible.
always broke. You never have any money.
And I have to say to her, I'm a little short today. I called her up. I said, if I give you a check, Ma, can you bring $15 with you? And she's always got money, so she said, well, I don't think so. And in the car, I gave her a check. She gave me the
have it because I
$15.
can't borrow it of anybody. They're always broke.
But that's the truth. That's what she said. And I raised four of you on $4,000 a year.
That time $4.
I am paying $500 a month rent. Kathleen is paying over $500 a month.
Why not?
And Peggy is paying an awful lot of rent
so.
too, and
That's
she
what
lives
I'm
up in the
waiting for,
Bronx.
the other half hour to talk.
And we are both earning. We're all earning.
You are.
Well, pretty near, aren't you? And she's got a
I
much
know.
bigger apartment. Oh, yes, she is. I just said, I'm paying $500 a month rent. Kathleen is paying more than that now, and Peggy is paying very near.
$450.
Right,
It goes
right.
up to 500 in June.
And Peggy's apartment, of course, is much more. I mean, Peggy's got 2 bedrooms and a dining room and stuff. I just have a
It's also on
one-bedroom
the outer edge
apartment.
of the Bronx.
And mine is a box.
Kathleen's got a
I've got a box.
a jewel box, a jewel box, a cute little apartment, but it's
I
very
do.
tiny.
It's a
I mean,
lovely
Kathleen's
apartment. But I tell
apartment is-
everybody, it's the
could
size
fit
of
in
my
my
office.
living room.
Yeah.
That's right.
My sister has the three. My
Big as a postage stamp.
My
Big-
sister
there
has
is-
a
the 3 rooms are
apartment.
all as big as, they're all together as big as this room.
That's right.
But
It's
it's a
about
lovely-
exactly,
the
the
size
apartment
of
is about, and there's a
But you
split
live on
there,
the,
a
we
split
live,
there.
she lives
This
on
little
78th
part
Street,
is
and I live
the
on,
biggest
you know,
part.
you live on the Upper East Side, you pay big rent.
live on a very exclusive place in New York.
Very
right?
exclusive.
It's
It's
not
a
very
small
exclusive.
walk-
I have a catwalk walk up.
But she does, she lives on the East River and it's beautiful.
And Kathleen, right, on the East River.
Right now, to get an apartment anywhere in Manhattan, and even in the bad neighborhoods, you're going to be paying that.
That's right, it's true.
Even-
And we can, and I do, I say,
Should
well,
maybe
I
part
consider
of
that I
it.
have a bargain of the first order.
Now, with all the brownstones
Truly,
and everything,
I
it's big
consider
bucks,
that the
yeah.
apartment I have and where I live is one of the
Anybody want
best
potato
bargains.
chips or cheese
I
or
can't, I'll have
pretzels?
some
Thank you,
cheese.
no. I'm
You'll
not
have
eating
some
another
cheese?
cup
I
of water.
can't believe I was lucky enough to get in there when I did. Because
Didn't click
the
yet,
apartments in my
The 2
building
buttons will-
now that
will
are
pop out.
going, they're a fortune. Because they turn over a
Get your
lot.
hand up.
But I got in there when there were vacant apartments all over the place, just before the boom started. I live right across the street from the 86th Street station.
Oh.
I mean,
on the west side.
on the east side.
Oh,
I live on
all
the
right.
east
She lives
side.
right-
I live on 80,
She lives right by
Between-
from Gimbel's and 86th
between
Street.
Lexington and Park. Right across the street from the 86th Street station. I mean, it really is. It's the only thing I don't have is a view. I love it. I would never live anyplace
How
else.
far do you have to go to work?
I work down in the World Trade Center now. You know, where Kathleen works.
Oh, I was down the World Trade Center a couple of weeks ago.
You were.
You were. Why the hell didn't you
I
call us?
didn't know you were there.
And I
You
I
didn't know we were there?
Aunt Peggy was at the World Trade Center. She said she
2
didn't know
weeks
we were
ago?
there. We worked there.
Where do you go for lunch?
There's
It
a bit
doesn't
in different
matter.
places.
Listen, she's on the 73rd floor. I'm on the 68th. You know who we've gotten friendly with?
Yeah, I know you did. Let me tell you,
Oh,
we've
for
gotten
God's
friendly
sake.
with Jerry Hobbins because he works there.
I used to see him all the time.
I
Oh,
know,
for
he told
Christ's
me you,
sake.
Aunt Mary. I said, you know, I vaguely do remember that she once said, I knew you worked for the
Peggy.
Port Authority.
Yeah, it was right
And
down
he
the
works
tr-
there.
World Trade
I,
Center.
Where?
I met him one
I
day.
don't know.
He came up
You know
to
where
me.
Fitzpatrick's is?
And so I had a big party. I invited him to him. And then after that, last Joe, when was the reunion?
Yes, I know where Fitzpatrick
He
is.
called me up and
And
had a
Peggy,
big
I'm
reunion
gonna write
of
down my
189th Street
number.
in Washington
If you're
Avenue.
ever there,
And we
call
always
me.
Joe went too. We made him
I'll
come
give you the
with us.
cook's
All
tour.
people we knew from we were kids.
Yes.
He said, your Aunt
There's a
Mary. I knew
sister
your
in our
Aunt Mary very well.
Mary Handed that loves New York.
Yes, yes.
And she took me
I
to
just- and I had lunch
Fitzpatrick's to
there,
get some clothes. And we was at the
October. Now it's October 1st. I said that first 30 days, then 60 days, then now 90 days.
Why
But
would Aunt Peggy be in the Trade Center?
she was just
I
there
was in New
recently
York,
at
and that was
Barclay Street. Remember the nuns talked about Barclay Street? They go and buy their clothes and religious stuff there.
Party here in the corner.
I was worried.
Come on, you
It
should
makes
tell
me
me
very
don't they get
nervous.
the things for you
How do you
years
turn it
ago?
off?
Yeah.
For stop.
Saturday night.
Where's my bag?
Billy and Susie are
Well-
engaged to be married. They spent a lot of Saturday
Oh,
nights home
that's all
saving
I know.
money.
Our
Okay.
Billy?
No, that's
that's
Billy.
Billy.
Oh.
They spent a
Let
lot
me
of.
explain something to you.
Let me
I do not get
explain.
insulted
I'm not so sure I get
at
insulted.
compliments, except when
This what we
me.
want on tape?
You have beautiful legs. She spent the whole time, I was feeling very flattered when I didn't say anything and kept going on, but feeling very flattered. I would have hit him right over, I would have spit in his eye. I would have hit him right over the head with my pocketbook. The nerve of him, blah, blah, grumble, 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 all the rest of the way. What is so wrong if we were all totally free? Really totally free.
But that's not
Wouldn't
the point.
we walk up to anybody and say, you're beautiful, you're handsome, I think you look wonderful, it
We're
gives me
not
pleasure to
totally
look
free.
at you?
They're
But
just.
we're not totally free, are
But
we?
are we to prevent the people who are free enough then to do it?
Don't tell
To
me
get
that some
insulted?
fucking man who's telling me
Would you,
that I'm...
You have to do something about her. Would you? Would you shut up?
Say pink instead. Every time you think that word, say pink.
That's
Pink
okay.
notes, and I have to be told. Oh, come on, you know.
Like that's what Archie calls me said Pinko.
It's a good thing that most of the older generation aren't wearing anything.
Come on, I'm so... I need a little air.
The men that are saying this stuff to us, they're not totally free. That's not what they're...
And he's not doing it because he's
you know,
going
I
around
think
and doing it
there's
for
a way-
some,
I
because
believe there's a-
everything he sees that is beautiful, he's not saying it to. He's doing it because this is a woman. Would he I don't think he would,
I don't think there's anything wrong with a man responding to a woman.
I don't think there's
Not
anything
a
wrong with a
thing
man
wrong,
responding
and
to a woman.
expressing
I don't
it.
think, no.
Give me a break. Give me
And I don't think...
a pinking break.
I think that they're-
Give me a break.
I'm very, well, not me. I don't mind it.
They
You
have a
can
lot
give
of
me a
nerve walking up
compliment.
to him
I
and
know,
saying,
I know.
regardless of what they
Oh, you
say.
take that as a compliment.
Yeah, I do.
Well, I'm very sorry, but I do not.
I know.
Well, how about the, oh, never mind.
How about, go ahead, what?
No, the guy who comes up to you in the bar and says, I've been looking at you for an hour.
I
think
don't
you're
go to
very
bar. I
beautiful."
mean, that doesn't...
Kathleen, pretend. Let's pretend you're in a bar.
Well, I don't know. I really don't. I can't...
Well, but obviously
What
you don't
does
have
he-
the same
what does he say?
reaction. You don't think that's...
Peggy?
Well, I'm not sure
He
because
says,
I've been looking at you for
Well,
an
you know what
hour.
I would say to him? Well,
I want to know what you would say.
You know, I'm having an allergic
Think back,
reaction.
think back.
too bad I didn't tell him go to hell.
And my...
But meanwhile, what did he say?
I don't remember.
Catherine,
Listen to me,
man,
listen.
All right, I'm listening.
Listen, tell it, you
I
think
don't
back,
remember,
Ma,
I said,
you'll
Eileen.
remember. Come
I
on,
don't
how?
remember. I don't remember things that happened to Leslie.
That's very
He
amazing.
didn't walk up and say you're a very beautiful woman.
Well, when he did he get? Did you meet him at a dance? They went out.
Yes.
No, not in Ireland. They went out to dances and stuff. Did you
But
meet
there
him
was-
at a dance?
I know, I guess so. Did I meet her? You remember the black sweet?
Where did she meet?
Tell them how we used
How
to
do
come.
I know?
Tell them how we used to come to
Rochelle, I already know about that
you know,
part. I want to know how
well-
you met.
I don't know how.
We don't
It's a
know about
party
the
at a
New
dance or
Rochelle
something,
part.
I don't know. I can't
You
remember.
worked in Rochelle.
Way
You have to
back.
visit Mr. Ailey. You should talk about that.
Well,
Because
do you mind if
he
Well,
went out.
we just want
I
to,
want to hear what
we
he
want her to
said how
concentrate
they
on how
first
she
met.
met him.
I don't know, I forget.
Well,
Think
think
about
about
Come
it.
on.
Jesus, it's so long ago. How do I know?
Oh,
I
come
used to go
on.
to dances. I don't know. How do I know?
I could tell you about every love of mine, every love I
Yeah,
ever
listen,
had
but
in
you
my, every
ever had
romance
like
I
one
ever
of the
had in my
leads?
life. I could tell you
can't go
how
way
I
back.
met them, and you know.
50 years ago. 55
And words
now,
to
I
that
guess.
effect.
56.
Excuse my open. Yeah, but Mama, you know, you must have loved him then. Tell us about it.
How would you like to go to hell? Yeah? You want to hear about my love story now?
I certainly do.
Yes, we do.
I don't even remember.
Everybody
about
is
it.
laughing when I look at this.
Yeah, and I'd have to make you cake when he was coming up.
She used to make the
Aw.
Mary
Irish
make
soda.
me a lady cake.
She made the Irish soda bread for him.
Where was he coming up to?
Helen used to
I mean, you weren't working together.
Tell us. Tell us.
No, you know,
Tell
what
us.
I'm laughing at this.
What?
Yes.
Well, I tell you the story about me and I made a cake.
Must have been a hell of a
Mary was a wonderful cook, you know.
Oh,
whatever
she
else,
was.
whatever
Oh,
else they
God.
learned in working out.
Because she used to like her mashed
Oh,
fish
she
and
made
Oh,
wonderful.
and
Whatever else you
oh, she-
all learned in working out was Mama and Mary learned,
Learned
and
to
Aunt
be-
Peggy too, I guess. You
You
were
learned to be
Mrs.
wonderful
Mrs.
cooks.
Ludwig used to
elegant. My mother makes elegant, lovely things, and
Mary-
mashed potatoes were
And the carrots that Mary made.
God
Oh.
without
Yes.
a lump.
from now
Without,
on you go to
they were wonderful, and that's what she used to say when I came home. and
She
told
got
us.
mad. She got mad. The next time we said, well, you can go to Mary. But you, Mama, you were
To get
a
mad.
better cook than any of us have ever been,
And
Mama.
Mary used to make the most and that's what, if we came home, we
Yeah.
oh, you could just go to, you go to Mary's house then.
All right, but tell the story. Come on.
Come on, about
One
the
of you
cake.
tell the story about the cake.
You tell them. They're both laughing so hard I can't get out. No, it was up at my house and we were mind the kids or something. And wasn't it my house we made it with
No,
the ladies?
we worked for the two sisters.
And you were chef.
Oh,
Okay, that.
Uh-huh.
And
Do you know the stories that they're talking about?
No, I don't know.
No, it's
I know
no
your
big
mother
deal
used
now.
to
It's
make
no
the
big
soda
deal.
bread.
I
tell
know
it down
it's
there.
which is just funny. I could have choked her children dead.
We're at my house and she was making a cake.
No, Mike was coming up. Mike was coming up to see you had a date with
I don't start laughing now because I had that
No,
before.
he had a
I
date
sick
with
all
Mike.
night.
And my family was away, and they didn't want it to. Donnie was young, a couple of years old or something, and I had to go to Helen's house with the baby and take care of him in Helen's house because he was too young, you know, for me to stay in the house with him.
And
alone
we
in the house.
had the old Mrs. Brady in the house, but she
yeah,
was
the grandmother.
Uh-huh.
my
She's
bo-
the one who
my
taught you to
boss's-
cook.
Yes, my
Yeah, I
boss's
remember you
mother.
telling me that. She
And,
taught her to
It was
cook.
a very, very hot day, and I just didn't feel good that very day. I just was sick, and everything was wrong with me. So anyhow, Mike was coming up the other day for Mike. So she said to me, will you make soda bread? Mike loves it. I said, all right. I
Put
will."
us down, I said, put it in.
I used to make good soda bread at that time.
Mama.
Okay, I will. Well, I made soda bread. Mrs. Levy was her boss. She was out and she came in. She wasn't supposed to come back, but she came back.
You never know when they was going to walk in.
Yeah,
And she smelled the cake. And she
I mean, you weren't supposed to do that.
I
You
wasn't
weren't.
supposed to do that. I was making it for your father because
Right.
I had a big date, dear God. So she smelled the cake. She said, "Oh, Helen, you made a cake, didn't you? Oh, that's wonderful. I didn't know what to get for dessert."
You said what?
That was Mike's cake, huh?
Well, no, the soda bread was in the soda bread was in the oven. You know,
And we
getting
couldn't
baked.
tell them it was we can't believe it was a regular cake.
When you were baking for them.
And they shared a stuff all over the
So they would never know.
That's all over the
For them, so they would never know.
Yes. And I said, I barely made a cake. That's all about that.
And they were so pleased.
No, it was a soda
And they
bread.
show
She
him
had
that
a-
piece
I could have strangled her. It was easy to make a soda bread, but
I
it's not
know.
to make a cake. It's tasting it in the hot days. And I was
And there
wasn't
was
feeling
no
good.
other way out because the cake was there.
Well, who was going to eat the cake? Did she want a cake? I mean,
No, this
They
was
were
your
all
father.
away.
This was on the side. This is for your father.
no, I know that, but the cake that you were asking.
Well, she thought then to get the drive. I mean, that we made a cake, and she was all so happy to have the cake for dessert.
Yes, she
Well,
said,
then, what the hell I couldn't say, well, this. So made start there and make the cake. Oh God, I'll never hear the end of that.
Couldn't you bake a cake?
What?
she couldn't.
Well,
I would make a cake, but she was.
This was a soda bread.
I know that. No, but if you said that Mary made a cake and she had to start in and make a cake, if I were her, couldn't she have
Oh, I
just
don't know.
said to
Maybe
you,
I couldn't make it.
"Goodbye"?
Maybe she was a better baker or something. Or
couldn't
maybe
say-
I wasn't baking at the time.
I
don't
couldn't
know.
say
But anyway,
goodbye
she had
because
to
I was
make it.
staying there for a couple of weeks while the family
Oh,
was
you were
away.
staying there.
I
I didn't know
was
that.
staying there.
Okay.
She said that she had a little
Oh.
boy home.
I
and they
thought
would
she
let
just
her
came
stay
for the
here.
day.
No,
I
was
didn't
there
know.
for a
No,
couple
she
of weeks.
said,
Now I
See,
understand.
they had two children.
Now I
Well,
understand.
I two children both places.
Well, I would have
And
still
my
made
fa-
my mother bake the cake, not me.
No, Mary made a cake.
She's looking when she didn't get stranded.
Mary made a cake. Oh Lord.
But back the night, Mary made a cake.
Well, you can't remember where you met Daddy.
I can't remember. I don't. My
That
memory
is
is
so
gone.
interesting.
I don't
to me.
even remember that until she started.
I don't remember either.
Until she told you started talking.
Where did you
about
meet
it.
Jack?
All that I forgot.
I remember the first time I met Jack, Joe,
Yeah, I
and I
remember the
both
first
do.
time
You
I
brought
met
him up. We were at 482, and you brought him up to meet my mother and father, and we were there too. We both met him too.
Was he okay, Adam?
That's right, exactly. I remember that as clear as anything.
Yeah, he used to come every Sunday night and we used to...
That I don't remember. I only remember the first time.
Mary worked up in Scarsdale, wasn't it Scarsdale? So he'd go up and on his way down, his father was working nights, and on his way down we used to always watch John G. Anthony. You remember John G. Anthony? He used to be on the radio. We didn't have the television then. And he
You're
used to
not
be talking
kidding. Are
about,
you kidding?
uh,
There wasn't
about
even any
divorce.
television.
And women used to write in complaining and he'd say, divorce him.
Oh, yeah.
No
wonder you loved him. Get rid, throw the bomb out.
Listen, all the men, Mr. Goddard, you know, Mrs. Goddard
Of
used
course.
to listen and
Mama,
and
Shorty
Mrs.
Goddard,
O'Reilly.
and Artie Goddard were at that party.
Yeah, no,
I
Yes,
told you,
all of them.
Artie Goddard and Joe Carney and his wife, they were all
Helen,
there.
remember Helen
Who was
married
Artie Goddard?
and left?
You know when you
With
talk
Joe
about
Carney?
89,
Well,
yeah, it was like
Artie was
20.
there and
There was
Helen and
all
Joe Carney.
kinds of stuff
And
They
going
were
on.
all there.
Talking to,
People who got
Well, I
married
don't know if
and
they were
married
talking to
somebody
one
else.
another, but
Listen,
but
and
they
how
were
was-
there.
They did not talk to each other.
How about the
Joe
bride?
You know, you used to like them and you
None
Joe
of the
Carney
brides
was
were
the
there.
biggest
None of the brides
Yes.
were there.
None of them?
None of them were
But he
there.
was
Remember-
always nice to you kids when he was...
Yes,
Joe
he was. Remember
Carney
Pete
was
talked-
so good looking, and he was looking so
He was very
he
good.
was
chunky
awful.
and middle-aged
Yes.
and miserable looking.
Yes.
No, they did not talk to each other. They
Oh, I
stayed.
guess
He
they wouldn't.
already got it. Stayed on the other side of the
That's
room
right.
most of the time, and
how
she
did
was there with the two
How
of
did
them.
she look?
She looks
The
good.
same.
Yeah,
He
same.
looks like Mr. Whipple. That's who he looks
Listen,
like.
Yeah.
was Dolores there?
She, Dolores, you would
Dolores.
know her.
Who's Dolores?
Dolores, Shorty's wife.
Shorty.
Dolores.
Oh,
she
I
looks like she ran the whole thing.
She did run the whole
She
thing.
looks
True.
exactly
She
the
got up and
same.
danced with Jitterbug.
Right.
Yeah.
Mama, you should have been. I wish
know
you
I
were
should've.
there.
I should be able to-
Mama,
I
you
kept
would have
telling
loved
you,
it.
you were there, you would have been able to tell me
invited
who
us.
all those people were.
Yeah, Geraldine would
Because
say, you'd know everybody.
Eileen,
Mrs.
Mama said if we had
McPherson.
invited
Oh, I'll
you
know,
would
yeah.
have
And Madeline and the other.
Let's not, let's not.
It was a
sweetheart, I would
wonderful,
like to
wonderful
meet
night.
Sweetheart, sweetheart.
When was it?
exactly
When
the
was
same.
it, Peggy?
She,
And Mary
What was the
Smith.
date?
Jesus.
Yeah.
Mary Smith was there, that's right. Did you
I
know
know, yes,
Peggy
I-
Ann
somebody
Smith is
told me.
dead?
Huh?
I couldn't believe it. Peggy Ann Smith is dead.
I know, Mrs.
Mary
a long time
Smith
she's
came
dead.
because she heard Mary Brogan was going to be there.
yes,
Everybody
I
said
knew-
Mary Brogan was going to come with Henny.
I'm surprised any of the Brogans wouldn't.
None of them. Jimmy Brogan said he couldn't take the night off. They were all talking about him, how cheap he was, that he wouldn't take the night off. He works up in the track. And they said, I heard that Mary Brogan was going to be there with Henny, and then she didn't show, which is why Mary Smith came. Who did she come down with?
I don't know.
Where was she?
Jimmy Kelly. Jimmy Kelly
Was Jimmy
walked
Kelly-
over.
Jimmy Kelly
Mama,
was there.
he
Yes,
walked
exactly.
over and he tapped me on the shoulder like this, and I turned around and I said, Jimmy,
Jimmy
Kelly. I haven't seen him since I was, his brother Tommy is dead.
Yeah, I know. Tommy
Just recently he died.
And then he's the one who explained to me how the Smiths and the Bridys and the Kellys were all related.
Yeah.
And he said 2 brothers and 3, and I forgot it immediately after, which I guess I did when I was a kid too. They were all interrelated, you know. The Smiths and the Westables. Gotten so much attention, they would have fallen
They
down
would have
dead.
dropped dead.
Oh, I'm
Because
glad that- I'm
everybody
glad I didn't-
asked.
I wasn't-
Everybody asked.
for you.
Everybody.
don't ask me. Yeah, we got to the World Trade Center.
I have to tell you, they all asked for Daddy too.
Yes,
Ma, I have to tell you, they all asked for Daddy too. Everybody said, oh, Shorty got it, said, your father took me to my first baseball game.
Oh, Shorty got it. Yes.
How come Daddy took him to his first baseball game?
Well, I'll tell you.
Wait a minute.
Well,
Off the record, huh?
no. Well, Shorty Goddard. Do you remember Shorty Goddard?
I remember.
Well, maybe I was going to turn
We
it
just
off
met him.
because I have always been proud of the fact that Daddy, he never seemed to be sorry that he didn't have a son.
Oh, I don't think he did. It was.
Okay,
I think he
so
liked.
yes, he liked the girls. Okay, I remember how. You remember, Mama, how the men used to play cards under that.
The tree across the street.
Okay, I remember Shorty Goddard, who passed through the rite of teenage, whatever. When he got old enough, he was able to play cards with the men.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yes. Mr. Goddard played and Daddy played. I don't know who else.
Mr. Hobbins was
Mr.
down
Hobbins.
there.
And
Mr.
Mrs.
Coffee.
And
Mr.
Mrs. Loren
Coffee.
used to be.
Mrs. You're
She
absolutely
played?
right. Oh, she
Oh,
was right.
good
She's
for her.
absolutely right. She was. She was a big card player and was right down there
All
with
right.
all the men
But I
playing the
remember
cards.
Shorty
True.
Goddard, who used to hang around. We didn't, but he did. And when he got a little older, and Shorty said that night, he said, you know, I played cards with your father. And I remember that. I remember so well. And then Shorty became old enough that he was brought
Was
into the
allowed to play with
Right,
them. What,
right.
They used to play euchre.
euchre.
That's
Yes.
what they used to play. down
And
there.
so it was like a rite of passage, you know.
And you
for-
know what they used to do too?
for
There used to be a
boys.
lot of sexual kind of fooling around there too that they did that we weren't supposed to know. We knew a lot of what you used to fool around to that. They used to make fun. Remember the Murtaughs, Ma?
The who?
The Murtaughs. It was an old couple. They were
Oh,
much
yes,
older
yes,
than you
yes,
were.
yes.
And they lived up the block.
Yeah.
And they were like sweethearts. They were old people.
They
Whatever
were
they
old
were
people,
then.
and
They used to
because-
hold
they were
hands.
never
And I think
And-
that was very nice. And then they used to talk about them.
They
Oh.
used to, and you too, Ma. Everybody used to stand on the corner and laugh at them. They used to hold. It was sweet.
at us? We always go there.
No, I don't think it's that way anymore.
You see now?
They were
No,
all
but it
Irish
was like-
people, and they used to stand
Well,
in
they
the
were
corner,
Irish.
and they would watch them. I know they were. Walk up the block. They would be holding hands. But listen, you know that. I knew. We lived in the neighborhood, Fordham Road, which had a lot of Irish people and a lot of Jewish people. And one of the things that I always knew growing up is when you saw Irish people, and I'm talking about Irish, not Irish American. The men and the women were always, if they were out,
Separate.
like after Mass
Separate.
on Sunday and stuff, the men would be all standing around talking together, and
And
the
the
women
women.
would be separate.
Exactly.
Whereas Jewish people, the men and the women, walked together and stuff. This couple were unusual in that they would walk up the block together holding hands. And a bunch of them would be standing down in the corner laughing and making fun of it. I remember that.
Listen, I wanted to ask
Go ahead.
something that my mother has told about her mother, and I would like to hear again, but certainly from Mary and Aunt Peggy, is what she was like to you. My mother said that she used to have to go away and hide in the haystack in order to go to a dance or something, and then
That
when
was
her mother
coming
went
home late.
no, it wasn't. It was going. It was going, and her mother would come up the road and come back, and then she would go.
I thought that was to get home, so her mother came out on the road looking for her because she was
Just
late.
to go. Just to go.
Oh, then I'm mistaken.
Isn't that-
I thought that story was
She
that you were
didn't-
coming home with a boy one night late, and she came out looking for you, and you hid.
All right.
Mary, tell the
Oh,
All
story.
right,
yeah.
Mary, tell the story.
Wait a minute. Mary was out in this country now. I think you was your second trip back when Mickey was small. Do you remember when she went back? You were coming the bicycle back from country boat.
It was my first trip.
Was it? And after being out in this country now, tell them that
okay.
story.
Tell the story.
Her and Mickey.
She was
Her
very
and Mickey.
strict.
Yeah. Yes, I was out in this country.
It was all right to come out here when she was 18 years old by herself.
I was only 17.
And send money, all right.
Yes,
You're
only
going to be 18 in a
17.
month. But then go back and go out to a dance or go somewhere, wherever she was, and be go home a little later, and she'd go out to meet her. You think that was
We were
right?
then, we were out.
No.
And for Skip that was with me. We was within a couple of yards of the house.
Who was with you?
Skip, my boyfriend.
Your boyfriend.
Oh.
You had a boyfriend back there too?
Jim Conboy.
I
Oh,
did.
she
I
had
have
a
A
lots
what
of
boy?
Jim Conboy.
What does that
Convoy,
mean?
say it right.
Oh, Conboy? The
Right.
name Conboy.
They call him
It's
Say it right.
it's very important that you pronounce it right.
Operation Skip.
Call
My
him
mother.
Skip.
Okay.
No, that was his nickname. Skip.
Who called him Skip?
I don't know.
Everybody. I think that's
Mother did, I think.
yeah. No, everybody. That was really his before ever.
Anyway, you were out.
Anyhow, it wasn't late. It was a weeknight and wasn't late. Maybe 12, maybe half past 12, maybe not.
Well, how late was late? I mean, did you ever stay out till 4 in the
Late
morning
was
there?
after it's dark.
Very
That
late.
was late.
No, now, Ma, because it's
Yes.
12, you go to a dance and you
What
come
time
home
is
at
9
12.
o'clock in the
After it's
What
dark.
time did the dance break up over?
It gets in the north
12
there,
or
it gets-
1 o'clock
it-
maybe?
in the
Oh,
summer, it stays
11
light.
o'clock, I think.
Till
he's
late.
doing the
So you
horn.
would be
Not-
allowed to stay out
I
till
mean,
the
11
dance was
o'clock.
over, would you?
You wasn't at a dance.
When?
I guess so.
That night.
Oh, where were you?
Where was I?
I thought you went to go to bowl something.
Why should
To
I
do
go
what?
Why should I
What
go
was going on?
Well,
in
tell us. Why should you go to Culture Boat?
How do you know you were
You
here?
told me the story.
All right.
All
Yeah,
right,
that's
so whenever
another
I was,
time,
I was
maybe.
out.
Yeah,
Right?
and
No
you
matter
went
where
to
I was.
Out,
many
right,
times.
exactly.
Okay,
And you're on
country
your way home.
Yeah,
I
I'll
was
do
on
that. No, I'm afraid my back. I want to keep.
I know, I want to
Yeah.
throw it up over the top.
All right, go ahead, Mary.
I
Say.
was on the way
Okay,
home.
don't rock on
And
my
it was like
foot.
a big stone fence.
I ever did do. I never get the end of it.
I was within half a block, less than half a block of our own house. Now, how she knew I was there, I'll never know, because we weren't making any
Others
noise.
know.
She probably was snooping around.
Others know everything.
She means she got up and came out of her house
And a
at
candle,
midnight or 12:30, out
candle in
looking
her-
for her
a
with a
candle.
candle.
a candle in her hand.
She
the
must have
candle,
been
and here
scared to death
she-
and worried.
Here she's standing with the candle
No?
up like that.
Give me a
Listen,
break.
Mama.
Oh, she will give she will give
Not
none
a-
an
Wait a
order.
minute. Wait. Let's
Yeah.
be a
She's
Mary.
standing out with the candle up in her hand. Mary, 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 Mary. I said, she gives no one. What am I going to do now?
I
She
know.
said,
It's
I
drop
take
dead.
you to cross the fence and then stay there. I go home and scare the life out. Listen, I said, no, we'll just wait here now when she goes in the house. So she kept the candle up like that. Mary, Mary, Mary. No answer. I said,
You kept quiet?
But your sweet life.
You're very brave.
Well, suppose you went down and said, well, here I am.
Hello.
Would she beat you to death?
She couldn't beat me because I was after spending 5 years in this country.
Well, what would she have done?
Well, then, so what? I mean, what?
I just don't know a domineering way.
Okay.
With the boyfriend there, who needed
Yes.
it?
A
Right.
domineering way.
So you just stepped aside and waited till
Very quiet, she went in the house. And I knew bloody well she was only right inside the door. So I said to him, I said,
Was your
can't-
father still alive then?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sure he was.
Oh,
He didn't
yeah.
die
He was gone to bed. The
when we
poor
were
man was
little.
gone to
They
bed
were all
to
in this
sleep.
country.
The poor man, yeah,
He was
give me a
gone to bed
break.
to sleep.
Mm.
So I kept very quiet. I said, no, you just better go this way. I go down across the field and go home, but don't make a bit of noise. And I walk quietly home.
So you sent the boy the
I
other
sent
way,
him the other way.
and you
because
waited till your
I waited
opportune
till he was
moment.
gone, and then I came popping up home by myself.
And you got in the house safely, and she never knew or anything?
She never knew what. Never said a word.
Listen.
All
was
right,
she
wait a
different?
minute.
Was she different than your friends' mothers? Or were they all like that?
Was
Oh,
it all
no,
the
no.
same?
And Kate was nice. And then
Well, I mean, did they allow more freedom, is what I meant.
yes. Oh, yes. And Kate, her sister, and then
Aunt Kate
Penny, her
told me I
bride's
was
mother,
very,
and the-
oh, you're
and the bride's
so
mother.
brave.
Oh, wait a
I
minute.
mean,
I
they
want
all
to hear
belong
something
together.
from Mama. Wait a minute. Mama,
Yeah, she
Mama.
traveled.
you
They
you
knew I'd
used to
gone
say
I'd
that
come from all the
you,
place.
your mother
I
used to
visited
forbid
every
you to go to
country,
the
Germany and
dances
Italy
and stuff.
France
And so you
everybody.
used to go out and hide in the haystack,
But she never
and
left.
she would come up the road, and then you'd go, and you didn't
She looked
care
just like
if
me.
she punished you, and she got.
As long as I got to the dance, I didn't
didn't
care. This is what. When I come home, the heck with it, the dance was over. I went to the dance. Let her do
Mama?
whatever she like. I didn't care. As long
Skip
as I
the
got-
generation got Patricia. That's
Okay.
Patricia.
Didn't skip any generation.
That's what I was going to say.
Well,
I
I
did.
did. Well,
Mama, do you remember the things that all you used to say to me when I was a kid going to dances and stuff? Do any of them sound familiar?
What did I say?
Well, there were several things that you used to say. In fact, we all quote you all the time.
Well, that's all right,
You
too.
used to say one of the great things was nobody. Do you have to be the last one to leave a place? You have to be the last one to go home. Nobody will ever have any respect for you if you keep on keeping the hours that you keep.
And nobody did.
well, I didn't go out. That's right.
You should have listened
I
to
didn't
your
go out.
mother.
I didn't go out with the candle and say,
No, but
What's the difference? It's a
Hello,
it's a different
let me
country.
just
All
tell
right,
you,
so
every
sure,
once
but-
in a while I
Yeah.
came home at night and up at the kitchen window, remember the guardrails that were on the kitchen window there? The light was on. Do you remember this? Mama would be leaning out the kitchen window, and that's one of her favorites. I was just about to call the police.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember.
I was
just about to
just
call
about to call the police. I mean, you're just
And I was,
That's right.
and I was good. I wasn't like.
That's right. I mean, I was terrible. You're not going out of this house 6
I was
months,
just about to
night
call
or
the
day.
hospital.
You remember that?
No,
I was
I never
just
saw
about
it
to call the
about
morgues.
But let me tell you, I think that's what Eileen is saying.
Yeah, if you
Mama's
could
talking about her
try,
mother as if she was this
let me
person.
say
I'm
this.
Really trying
let
to
me
look
say
at it.
this about what I hear from
Sometimes.
what you're all saying and what we're saying. Let me listen
Yeah,
to
I'm
me.
listening, Eileen. I'm listening.
11, top of the 11.
Go ahead, talk. I'm
Oh, no.
I'm worried about Mama. I don't want to worry about you.
I think I better sit between these two.
Black and blue
Move
ball
over
there.
there, you.
Nobody wants
What I'm hearing
Gonna
from
take
Mary
that
and
cake.
Mama is, as compared to what, look at her, and she stands up and her pants fall down.
They hardly fall. They can't fall.
Listen,
They're
what
too
I'm
tight.
hearing is, this is important, I think. Mama, listen to this. Is what I hear from you two is that there's still a lot more, there's a lot of, when we're talking, when I'm talking anyway, about the way that you were and everything, it is a lot more, there's no animosity there. I mean, my feelings are that's the way mothers talk. They all do that kind of stuff. I don't have any ill will towards you because that's the way I would expect that a mother to be that way
They
to
are.
her
They
daughters.
really
They're all
are.
that
They
way.
are.
But you
I see
two
myself.
seem to me to not feel that way. about your mother. So I think that
But
there's
I don't
more.
feel that way about my mother.
Wait a second. There's more.
Right.
There's more
Well,
to it with you two. I mean, there's more. You're still angry at your mother. That's what I'm saying.
I'm not angry
There's
anymore.
more. No, there's more to
I'm just
it.
telling you what happened.
I know what you're saying, but you're still.
Uh,
I don't hold it against. I expected
same
you to
thing
be that way.
my
That's the way a
grandmother
mother
did,
is,
my mother
to say those
But-
kinds of things.
I do things that
Whereas
for
I
my
think you and Mary
generation and
feel
today's
that your mother was
exactly
wrong.
the same.
Was
Yeah.
wrong to have done what she did.
You see, it's a different generation, a different world, and my
Geraldine,
children
it's
are much
just
freer, but I
saying-
can see things in myself
The
fit
same
into
way.
this generation
Yes,
that
me,
are
I
the same
sure
as my
can.
grandmother with the candle and my mother with the, you know.
Right.
I can't.
By you sitting in the window and everything. See, I mean, I don't feel that that was wrong for you to have done that. That's the way mothers are, and I would have expected. I mean, I didn't like it then, but I understand it now. I understand that may have been worse if it were me than.
What happened? I had a new tombstone put on.
On
Well,
what?
everybody
For
paid
who?
for it.
For
For mother
whom?
and father.
I remember that now. Yeah, I remember that.
When the last time we were there, we went to the.
2 years
Well,
ago.
it probably has the date of birth and the date of death.
And I know the date the
I'm
father
sure.
died and the date the mother died and everything. So
Was
I
one
don't,
of the day they died,
I don't
Yeah.
know.
not the day they were born.
Really?
See, a lot of
That's
stones,
so
most stones
interesting.
I
have
don't
those.
think anybody
Yeah.
over there knows when they're born.
I think that's so funny, Mom.
Maybe
Mary, I
now.
can't
Probably
believe
like-
it.
Yeah,
but like back years then they didn't keep records.
They always
must
kept,
have
they kept
records.
records in this country.
I
Always, if you go
had
down
that
to
for
Trinity
mine, I
Church
had
in the
for my
churchyard
kids, I had to
there,
get for the-
you see
Yeah.
the old
Like from
tombstones.
from the
records.
1600s.
Well, I
If they
you
did,
won't
they never
believe
showed
this.
us.
No,
When
but
I-
maybe
my
what I'm
mother
saying
always
is,
said
though,
my
maybe,
birthday was the
maybe
10th
there
of
must
January.
be a
When I
record
was
somewhere
coming
in
to this
Ireland. There must
country,
be
I
a
came
place.
to
The
Dublin,
towns
and
must
I
have
came back
records.
in
I
the
have-
Who was born
January.
in them and
I
And when
everything.
I
have
was going to the
Jack's,
convent,
birth
I
certificate
sent to the
home.
parish priest, and I came back the 8th of January.
From
I have
Dublin
8,
when
9,
we
and
go to
10,
Ireland.
and I don't know which is
guess
my
if you
birthday.
know,
But I
kidding.
but I
If
think
you were
my
right,
mother
you
must
know,
know.
I guess you would guess it.
Because
And
Mama
she
was-
said the 10th.
She said the
So
10th.
that's what you think, yeah.
Count on your mother.
I would,
When you
I
were-
would too, exactly. Yes.
I know,
And Peggy, now,
but I'm sure that your parents too. They must have had. There must be a place where there were records
of course
of the
there
people.
are.
Dublin,
get
yes,
the records
because
in
I
the
have his birth
The
certificate.
church, the baptismal certificate
yeah,
also tell when the birthday.
1961, and I still have it.
I
And I'm going to look
That's
at
right.
it.
Geraldine, where is
If
the
there's any
Waldron
date
thing?
of
You were
birth.
going to show me that.
And that's it.
You better.
It's not, you know, it's not any one family tree of a family of Waldrons on their tree. What it is,
The woman
uh,
at work?
Yes,
what it is
that's what I
how
want.
the Waldrons came to get the name of Waldron, really, basically, from way back. in,
I would
in-
like to see it,
yeah.
yeah. Tell me now, your grandmother,
thought
when
maybe-
did your grandmother die? Do you remember that? How old were you?
I remember
She
it,
lived
but
with
I
Did you
don't-
know both of the
Wanna live with
grandmothers?
you?
Yes, we lived with
You
Nanny,
you lived with your father's mother,
father's mother.
but you knew your mother's mother too?
Yes.
How about your grandfather's?
We didn't know either grandfathers. My father's father died
did,
when
but
I
you
was
don't
a
remember
little
them.
baby.
Mary, to you?
I faintly
I
remember
do.
them.
I remember them, yes.
Who do you remember? Your mother's father?
No, my mother,
No,
nobody
he
knows
died.
anything about my mother's father. We don't even know his name.
Is
There
that
is
right?
no
You
one.
do. His name was Thomas McNicholas. What's
Are
the
you
matter?
sure it's Thomas? Yes. Since when did you find that out?
Well, I knew that. You were keeping it from your sister all these years, too.
I know that for
For
years.
years, and you do too.
I did not. Who was asking? Wasn't it you? Oh,
I
no,
did.
Nancy Cannon, I think.
Sure, Thomas McNicholas.
And what happened to him? Did he die very young or something? Or you
I
don't
think
know
he
what?
did. I think he lived
I
with
don't
a small
I don't
kids.
remember him at all.
You remember when Mother died? Mother died when Mickey was born.
She died in 1923.
You
That was
was
your grandmother.
Your grandmother
Grandmother
died in
died
1923?
when your mother's mother died when Mickey was born.
Yeah, 1923, the year I left Ireland.
and your mother was sick. She wasn't able. We went out to see the funeral.
Not a
Uh, did you go to your mother's funeral?
Thing
Your
began
father
to-
went.
You wouldn't have any idea how old she
At
was.
his funeral.
How old she was when she died.
I think I met her.
Mama, you know how old that grandmother was when she died? That's your mother's mother, though. But what about your father's mother who lived
she was
with you?
very, very old. She must be 100.
When she died?
When she died.
Do you
Yes,
remember
I don't
when?
know how old she was. I
when did
remember
she
when
die?
she died, but I don't know how old she was.
You don't know how old you were when she died?
Forever. You watch Fame?
How old were we, Mary?
You must know how old she was. You must know.
Think about how old you were when she
she
died.
died.
How old were we?
I know I sat up for weeks, nights with her. She would not go in bed.
What do you mean she wouldn't go
She
in bed?
wouldn't go in bed.
Oh,
She
we
just-
must be only about 5 or 6.
Oh, no, you was more than that because I was more than
Well, if
that.
you're so goddamn smart, you know.
Oh, wait a minute, Ma. It's just a discussion. We could figure it out here.
Listen, Helen. You
Would
was
you keep that? You get me so
All right,
damn
Aunt
nervous
Peggy.
with that goddamn
Aunt
head.
Peggy,
You're pointing it over.
Aunt Peggy, you said you were 4 or 5 at least when she
I
died.
was more than that because you remember when Uncle Tim died.
You remember. How could you remember when Uncle Tim
My
died?
mother. Who's Uncle
No.
Tim?
Uncle Tim was my father's brother.
Oh,
And he
okay.
died.
He's buried in Calgary.
He died in this country. He died in Calgary.
Your father's brother lived in this country too?
They're all
No, because my grandfather, the Waldron grandfather,
Father.
lived in this
Right.
country, and his brother. Those are
had
those
no
cousins from
idea.
Philadelphia.
Did you know
Mama's it surprises brother me.
lived in this
Uncle
country?
Tim.
My grandfather
And
lived in
died
this
in this
country for
country
13
and
years.
died in this country.
And then went back to bring his wife over, and who wouldn't. And his brother, Patrick, who he lived with in Philadelphia when they first came over, and it stayed here and had a family here and everything. Lived
I
there.
know, I met.
This is the first
I
I'm
met,
hearing.
I met that man.
Did you, Patrick Waldron?
You
Yes,
did.
The Waldrons, yes.
But I
He
had
was a
no
very nice
idea that your own father's
father's
brother.
brother.
came.
Yes, Uncle Tim. I remember when he
But
died.
Let me ask
we
you
must be
something
about-
now.
Wait a minute, we're hearing when Uncle Tim died, so we can
Wait,
find
how
out
old
when.
were we?
Grandmother
Must be about
died.
10 or 11.
Do you
10 or 11.
understand?
When Uncle
When
Tim
Uncle Tim
died?
died.
Look at how far this
I
goes.
think
maybe
he was
She
older
anyway
than that.
I didn't mean to yell
I
at
know.
you.
Like
Not
18,
I was
not
really,
three.
I was,
Not
She
too
lived
much.
through
I was
the
a little annoyed.
famine.
I was
Not too
annoyed at
much.
him. He
That's
said
what I
something
want to
that I
get
yelled
to.
at him.
Oh, God, yes.
I did not think
You yelled.
You
Wait a
So
minute.
you knew
At
both
all. I
your
knew exactly
grandparents,
what you
both grandmothers on
Because really,
both
that was what it
sides.
was. I said, if he
Did
didn't
you-
want to get up ever, the least
That's
he
right.
could do was return
Did
to
you
one of the
ever
calls.
That's
hear?
exactly what I told him, Joey.
Did you ever hear anybody talk about the
The
famine
famine.
in that went on 1848, 1849,
I read about it, but I
1850?
never heard them. They never taught. I didn't. they
But your
didn't talk about it.
your grandmothers lived through that.
They
Well,
must have
she
lived
must have,
through
but
that.
I
They
think
weren't
that
taught
maybe
it.
I think that your father's brother, those people may have come out here as a result
Yeah.
of that. You know, that would have been the great grandparents. They may have come as a result of that.
Because of
He came out here. He was great friends with Antenny and
Yes,
Uncle
yeah.
Tim. He used to
Yes,
visit them.
he had the big crush on Antenny. He wanted to marry her.
And she
My
wouldn't
Uncle
have
Tim-
anything to do
no,
with it?
she wouldn't. She wouldn't
She
have anything to do with him. He was supposed to be handsome, gorgeous, looking handsome.
He looking just like me.
Kathleen thinks,
That's what
you
they
know,
used to say,
Kathleen
that he
thinks
was that right.
that her husband Tim, your brother, is the most
I'll get it for
handsome
you.
thing on earth. You know that. She does.
Who thinks? Who thinks?
She thinks, Kathleen thinks
Oh.
to me, because when I went there the first
Well, he's
time,
not. He's very classically Irish, I think.
yes, that angular face.
yes,
Tim,
Tim.
Yes, with the cap. He wears that cap.
Yes,
the pointed
When
exactly.
I,
It's a really classic Irish face.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
not,
He's like one of those pictures you'd see of an Irish picture. With
That's
the men
right.
at the
Yes.
bar.
Exactly,
Right. Or
exactly.
out cutting the
Out
picture
cutting the
that I
hay.
gave you
Yes.
of the man cutting the hay there.
Yes.
Picture
That's
that you gave
Tim's
me,
face.
It looks so much
That's
like
right.
Exactly.
Yes, it is. It's a classic Irish
It
face.
is.
Rose Kennedy's
Joey's
face.
got it some.
Yes.
Joey and Rose Kennedy's
Kennedy's
face. The same
Right.
kind of very
You know, that's-
angular face.
He's way better looking.
Let me
You know
just
who
tell
had
you
it too?
that
John Lennon.
when I came to Ireland
way,
the first
yeah.
time, I had just come from England and seen Mickey.
Are you getting a cold,
Mickey
baby?
was
You're not-
much younger then.
get
He
you
was.
up
I
and
thought he
I
was
still
so
got pictures.
handsome. Very, very good
Up your
looking.
nose
And when I
with a
came
hose.
over to Ireland, and I told her, I said, well, Mickey is, oh, she said, and Tim wasn't there. Tim was in England working. He's nothing compared to Tim. Katie, oh, he's so handsome. He's
Well, he's
so
not
good looking.
handsome
But
one bit.
she thinks he is. She thinks he's just the most handsome man in the world.
So,
All right, anyway, my original question was, are you saying that throughout your whole childhood, none of the old people ever talked about the famine?
If
Nothing.
they did, if they did, I didn't hear them, or I wasn't paying any attention to them. I don't know.
I mean, because that was a trauma for the whole country. It was awful. All those people dying and people dying in the roads and everything
I
else.
read about
Very
that
bad in
the
the and you would have been too little to even get so curious
I'm just
about
thinking
it.
about 1918, 1919, 1920, when
They're saying they were not all that aware of it.
I mean, you weren't little tiny
You
kids,
knew that
or-
England was, they won
well, when they
what was
took over
going
the
on in
post office
Dublin,
and when the
and they
Civil
took
War
it
and all
over.
of that, it's hard
I
to
guess I
to
remember
believe
that.
I mean, even if it didn't take place, if that was going on in our country.
Would
and
you
you were
say
12
that
or
your
13, it didn't
parents
take
were
place out in your
nationalists
town.
and wanted the England out, or that they really didn't care who was there?
They didn't want any trouble.
Yeah.
Put it
Which
like
is-
Yeah.
They're very typical of a large number of people all over the world.
Yeah.
They don't
Exactly.
want to know
Just
what's
leave
going
us alone,
on.
let
Right?
us
Leave us
do
alone.
our
Leave us
crops.
alone.
A lot of
That's
people
Grow
are
our
like that.
crops and make a few dollars and just leave us
Because all of
alone.
the young ones, the
You
young
know
boys
what?
that
What?
got them,
What?
They got all
Somebody
fired
said
up,
they're
yeah.
the
Got,
real heroes of
that fought and got the Republic. The young,
You know,
the
I
young
mean,
Yeah,
people.
well, and that's-
not the
that's-
older ones. They didn't want it.
that's,
they really are what makes them run
that's
around.
very
I mean,
typical.
I know that you need these, you know,
Yes.
Hey,
But
Fire
now,
ran.
now
But
they're
really,
the
truly, the people that make the
people
world
over there.
move
They're
and
enjoying the
do-
benefits now. They all have houses and
care for
you know.
children.
Well, they're enjoying
They
other
take
kinds
care
of
of them, they just
benefits.
go on, they
They're
grow
enjoying
food,
certainly
and they
some of
actually
that
sell
has
and
to
they
do with
food
freedom,
without
but
anybody ever knowing about
they're
it.
in the common market.
Uh,
And although
How
things
was
are
the
not as
world
bad as they were, as not as good as they were a few years ago, you know, the economies of all of Europe are depressed, the oil crisis
same
and
as ours
everything.
is.
The dollar is
But it's
stronger
worse in
now, you
Europe,
know.
exactly,
It
it's
is.
worse in
It is
Europe.
worse. More people are going to Europe apparently this year
I mean,
than have
England.
gone in a lot
I
of
don't know
years.
what it's like in
England's
Ireland,
there.
but England, the
England is
unemployment
worse.
and everything is
Ireland
just awful.
is worse. The unemployment is very bad.
Father Mitchell just got back and was saying the kids grow up, there's no place that, he told us you can't, Irish immigrant, you can't get in here from
Anymore.
Ireland except
No.
in special cases.
No.
He says no place for
Now
them
it's
to
all-
go, no jobs for them there.
You know, it used to be
And
they could come
it's
here, but they
terrible.
don't anymore. Now the immigration laws
Everybody's
are
on the dole,
and
and everybody's complaining about how much
No,
it's
no,
so
no,
long
no.
time.
The
They didn't
immigration,
want to go. They didn't want to come here.
the immigration
long
laws
time
in
they
this
didn't.
country, if you come in legally, the immigration laws in this country, do you have a skill that we want?
Oh, sure.
Or,
I know that.
so the people from Ireland who come here now are the kind of people that I know in the National University Club of Ireland. They're all educated and they all have some skill that is needed here where some employer will, get a special permit for them to come. Or else they have some kind of a relative kind of thing. The illegals
I'm
are,
not talking about the illegals, I mean, I'm talking
but
about
legal
legals.
immigration in this
The
country is
illegal-
based on
Legal
skills.
immigration is
that-
not just based on skills. There are a lot of refugee types coming in legally.
That's different.
I'm not saying
That's
that they
refugee
shouldn't.
type.
I'm just saying that it's a different
That's right.
kind
That's
of
right.
immigration than it used to be, 15 or 20. But for a while, it seemed as if the younger people were
I
going to
think,
stay in Ireland, which I think is
Yeah, but
not.
there's still an awful lot of Irish people that seem to come to this country all the time. You go down to Moran's restaurant.
God knows,
I
not
wanna
just
tell you,
Moran's, but a lot
every
of
waitress
restaurants.
and
Rosie
waiter
O'Grady, Rosie O'Grady's has
is
got new
Irish.
Irish
Immigrants.
waitresses
So there's still plenty
and
of
waiters
them coming
all
over
the
here,
time.
and I
Well,
hear
they're all
it.
getting
Yeah,
out
yeah,
here
yeah.
to
Usually, maybe they're
Well, they're not out here very long,
No,
Mama.
I'm
A
talking
lot
about
of them are just coming
young,
in
quite
and-
young people, and
and
they
they-
do come.
So I don't know how they're getting in, whether they have somebody sponsoring them
Well,
specially
they
or
they
what,
must
but
have somebody sponsoring them and putting up money for them. They wouldn't get in otherwise.
Well, it's very interesting that you never heard anybody talk about the famine. You know, I mean, such a thing when there were your grandparents.
I'm trying to
Did your
think,
grandparents tell you stories at all?
when was Tim born? How much younger than you was Tim?
Tim is after her.
Tim was born 1911. Oh, so he was very young
Who's
then,
the youngest?
Time of the Troubles.
Huh? Mickey.
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 Their mother was 49 years old when he was born. I mean, that is
That's
some age to have a
unbelievable.
baby.
It certainly is. I mean, I haven't anywhere near
Well, she
reached
said
that.
all of it.
And
just think,
How old
I
was
used
she
to
when the
be-
first
mine
one was
was-
born?
Mine
Well, I
was
was the first one.
You were the
That's
first
right.
I
one.
think they used to
I
get
was the
married old.
They did. Irish people married
Yeah.
later
They
and
did,
less
they
than
did,
anybody
some
else.
I did.
Well, there was only 5 months between Mary and Helen. It's 2 years between Helen and me, and then 2 years.
And Mickey was.
Did you have any patriotic feelings when you came over to this country? Certainly, you bought Irish records and ran around and you went to dances and stuff. So, did you have patriotic feelings? Did you anybody talk about the issue? Daddy came over here. He was always interested in politics. All the Waldrons were. Any party in my childhood that I remember ever going to,
Yes.
Tom and Dick and Pat and Daddy were there arguing. But it was American politics, and it had to do with economic systems and communism and socialism and stuff like that. Did anybody talk about the political situation in Ireland and the oppression by the English or things like that? I don't remember
No, I don't either.
that being talked about here. And this was the time when you got here. You were there. You were children. You were growing up during the time when Ireland got its freedom.
You know who was a great one? Was Dad. Dad Murray, Nan's husband. We used to call him Dad.
Yeah.
Dad. Oh, he was a great IRA man. Great.
Was he?
He
Isn't
was.
that wonderful?
He was. Because even now, since Jack died, I went to visit Anne O'Brien a couple of times. Went to visit Helen, they're next door. And then Anne told me how many times you take her to the IRA meetings.
Yeah, he was.
And
He was
everybody,
great for the
she
IRA.
lived with them.
Who?
Anne
Anne?
Cannon.
Oh, yeah.
Anne Cannon. Because she lived with the Murrays.
Uh-huh.
She worked in beauty parlor and she lived with the Murrays. Until she got married. Until Mary came from Pittsfield. But she told me how he used to take her to the Irish meetings, the Irish.
Yeah, he used to attend all those meetings.
Every
he
one of them.
he
And
is the English.
And he used to
he was
always
great
take
for-
her
for
with them.
the-
And
Well, and where was he? Was he from Mayo too?
No, he was from
he was
Tipperary.
Castlebar. No,
Oh,
King's
that's right.
Tipperary.
Yes,
From
Castlebar.
Castlebar.
Where was
I'm
he
interested
from?
in, is it
Castlebar.
because, was your father interested in, I'm just wondering about you people, was it because you were women, and so, Mama, as long as I remember as a child, you were never that interested in politics. And the
You know,
women, too, I remember
seemed
that
to be
the men were the ones who were interested in politics.
and the
And
women.
you
not.
and Etsy and Marguerite and the rest of them, you were not in. You didn't take part in those kinds
Well,
of discussions. I remember Marguerite once, as a very small child, maybe in Ann Foley's house, going over and saying to Pat, enough is enough and stop it and everything. And he got mad at her, and he said, come on now, I'm a Waldron too, and I want to, and they were up
Do you remember
discussing,
no
but
shop talk? No shop talk.
no.
You don't? It seems like every time we had a party or a gathering in our house, now no shop talk. The women would say, "Mama," and no shop
You
talk.
You didn't want.
No shop talk tonight is what you'd say. Let's have fun. No shop
Who
talk.
wants to listen to them all the time talking politics and
You see?
That's what I'm saying.
That's
so the
what we're
women
saying.
traditionally were not. We grew up being where,
very.
Oh, well,
as
you
you and your
never-
friends
you
used to
never
say,
listened
we were
to
always
We are liberated, Mama said.
We're a far cry from liberated.
And I want to know when you were children
Say that
now,
again.
was
We're
your
interested.
father, and now I realize that not all men are interested in politics either. It doesn't work that way. But what about I know that I don't think you were all that interested. Was your father interested? Did he go and talk with other men about politics
They
and
did
stuff?
not.
I don't think
He
so.
didn't.
They talked
No.
about the cows, and they talked about the
They
caves,
did.
and they
And
talked
they-
about...
See the farm
They used to
thing.
play, listen,
You know?
women.
he used to play
No,
cards.
the
him and
cows and the
men in
calves, the
village.
farming, the men. He
Oh,
said,
oh.
They
it's
used
the
to-
family then.
he
You
used
know
to- he
why?
used to like to
Probably
play
with the
cards.
whole family were
family
not
was a
that
terrific card
interested.
Huh?
He was a terrific
No,
card
I know
player.
many, many men
He used
who
to go,
talk
they used to
about
go down to the
sports
different houses playing
and
cards.
what their
Play cards.
the
Uh,
stock
And the women
is
used to go
today,
around to
and that's
visit,
it.
have tea in the
And
night
they don't talk about
to the
politics.
houses.
So there
What they
wasn't a
talked
whole lot
about,
of
I don't know.
politics
There wasn't
going
a
on.
tradition in your
Right.
family, the whole thing of being interested in
Here,
politics.
were people
The
in
men
your
used to
neighborhood,
go
were the
around
young men in
playing
your
cards, and
neighborhood
the women
part
would
of the
have tea.
IRA?
And then they
what
they
it
The
was.
young
right,
men
that's
in
they
your
do
neighborhood
always
part of
drink
the
soda.
IRA?
They
Yes,
were.
yes,
Warm, so
yes.
they know
Yes,
like
all
this.
those-
I-
Yeah, I know.
But Mom is saying that the young men
young
in their
people-
neighborhood
The
were in
young
the
boys,
IRA.
and she said it was the young, which is very traditional. The
One time-
firebrands usually are young men. They're not
But-
older men with families.
Do
Do
you
not
remember
get,
one time they
except you're saying that your uncle.
they had undercover, they called them undercover here. They had undercover girls from the town.
Girls?
They used to go out with the black and tans and get the you know, get them to tell them stuff.
And we know how,
right?
That a Harry type.
And they'd come and they'd tell the guys. So this time there was supposed to be a big bombing in our village, and the IRA guys was up in the hill, Conley's Hill, and they expected the black and tans. They had guns and everything. It was going to be a big thing, but I don't know what happened. That they didn't.
How did you know
come.
about it, Mama?
Because I used to hear it.
How old were you at the time you heard this?
Oh, I don't know about
She
it.
was
I
too
lived
young.
young.
She was
That a
too young.
child
I
would
wasn't know what
hear
was
it.
going
That's
on.
really what I want to, that children knew these
I
kinds
think
of
children
things.
know far more about what's
Often,
going on,
yeah.
especially in small
She
towns
was
like
younger,
that.
and I remember that. And I was in this country and I was 17.
Do you remember the time the black and tans came and they came through and they set Blackguard toll on them and they left, there was in Gingers and they picked up Taylor and they left Blackguard and they went down and picked up Taylor and arrested him and I don't know who else, but there was a couple more in the village. Were you home that time?
Yeah, I remember it.
When
They arrested the guys.
they arrested them. Another time they came and Kate Regan.
They'd come early in the morning and go right in through the
Well,
house.
that's what they do in
pull the
Belfast
bed. Well,
today.
they didn't bother us because we were all
That's
small
exactly
kids. They
what
only
they
were-
do
were
today.
Like teenage boys, and
boys, yeah, you know.
You
young
remember-
men. And they'd go through the house and search the whole house. No search warrants or nothing. Pull the
Same
beds
thing they
apart.
do in
Oh,
Belfast
sure.
today.
You remember
Exactly
after
the
the two
same
kids
thing.
died, Helen?
And if they
They
felt like
gave
taking
us
them, they
the-
took them.
Magna Carta.
You remember after the two kids
And
died?
now they're doing this.
And Nancy
Doing,
Kitty
you
was
know,
very, very sick.
You know, really, they were
and they put
probably
them on the
among
bed.
the best
Remember that?
of the colonial people, the British, really.
Nancy Kitty was
Except
very,
in,
very
no, they really were, except in Ireland.
Well, I'm not sure I would agree with that, but that's not what I want to talk about. We'll talk
Okay.
about that another time.
I
Because
don't really want to get into
they're
about it
self-righteous bullshit is a little hard for anyone to take. I just had something I wanted to say and I forget it now. Did you, so what you're saying really is that there was not that much talk when you were kids so that you could listen into. I mean, they didn't sit and talk about what they thought. Like your mother and father wouldn't sit and talk and say that this is going on and there's going to be
About
a
the
vote.
political situation.
It wasn't from them I heard it. I don't know who
That's
somebody
what I wanna
told me.
know.
Somebody, my friends, you know, they heard
Yeah.
it from somebody and they
Did
they
you
would
know
tell
the
us.
names
But
Pierce?
I wouldn't tell anybody.
Pierce.
You couldn't repeat those things.
No, you knew that. You knew not
Yeah.
to.
All right.
But
So you
did-
knew, you began to hear the names Pierce and
Did you know the names Pierce and
I
Connolly
heard
and
them,
those
yes,
people?
yes.
Yeah.
how did you feel? I mean,
Did
what
you
was your
feel
own
patriotic
feeling?
when you were a
I
child
did.
like
I
that?
felt the English were lousy. The black and tan was no good.
I remember a thing.
And I still do think that.
I know she does.
Stop the
I'll tell you a very
revolution.
funny thing. When we were still lived on the concourse, I guess they did a play, the Victoria Regina. It was
Right.
the life story of Victoria and Julie. What's her name? You know, she plays Lily May now on Fort Knox Landing.
Fort Knox.
What's the actress? She's the actress, and she did played Emily Dickinson too. You know, the
Oh, come on.
Julie
Harris.
Julie Harris. Julie Harris is playing on a soap now.
You're kidding.
Julie Harris played Victoria Regina, and it's this big long, and it's a very glorified kind of thing and everything. And at the end of it, you know, she's this great person. My mother said, and I thought she was a bad queen. I thought she was terrible. It was so funny because it was from an entirely different point of
Context.
view.
Exactly.
I thought she was a bad queen. I said she was.
Only to some.
That's right. It depends on what angle you sat in. If
Exactly.
you're-
That music is wonderful, I think.
You want a Phyllangia to suck on?
Thank you. Listen, when did you begin to know?
Then,
All right, go ahead.
well, only that then you came to this country, and there were a lot of people around then. You knew about Irish organizations, and you went to dances. I know you went to those dances and stuff like that. Now there's a lot of people by this time around. The Civil War is going on, or it's over, I guess, by the time you got here. But a lot of stuff is going on. Didn't you become, and a lot of activities were going on. I mean, because that's, I think, De Valera came over to this country and raised money. They were raising money all over the place. Did you become aware then, when you were over in this country, about the political situation in Ireland? How did you feel about it, or were you aware of it
I
at all?
felt the same way, but we had no time to anything. We were living out. And you had a half a day off on a Thursday and every other Sunday, half a day. So where could you go? You were home every night, minding the kids, so where could you go?
No, but were you aware of it, is what I'm asking?
I was aware of it, but there
you
was
knew.
nothing I could do.
Are you aware now? Do you know what Northern Aid is? Are you aware of NorAid?
Yes.
Northern Aid?
I know
You know what
it.
happened about Michael Flannery and that whole business?
Yeah.
You should have seen 86th Street on St. Patrick's Day in the parade.
Huh?
Every year, the St. Patrick's Day parade ends on 86th Street. I always work on that day. I come up. The end of the parade comes in there. I get there at 5:15. It's the best part of the parade. It's when all the counties at the end of the parade goes by. There's a few people and the banners and the bands, and it's wonderful. It's the best part of the parade every year. This year, Michael Flannery was the Grand Marshal, and Daniel Patrick Moynihan in his
I hate that
self-righteousness. I know you do, Mama. And you're never going to give Cardinal Cook. You're never going to give Cardinal Cook a cent again, I hope.
I had just given them the money for
got
that's the thing they give every year.
Catholic Charity.
It used to be Catholic Charities. Now it's
Whatever it is, I
the
know.
Cardinal something. I had
Cardinal
to send the money in. If I had that money back, I said he wouldn't get nothing.
You got to stop giving money to them. You got to stop giving money to them. Anyway, I took the afternoon off. I was so angry at them. And I was angry at them not because I'm for what the IRA is doing, but I was angry at them because they're all so willing to talk out against the IRA, and I don't hear a single word ever about the violence that goes on by the British over there.
Right.
I haven't heard Moynihan or Kennedy or Carey or Tip O'Neill say anything about, they're always saying we abhor the violence of the IRA and everything, but nobody gets on and says, let the British get out of Ireland and that they are wrong, and Margaret Thatcher is an intransigent old bitch.
Yes, she is.
So I took the afternoon off. Well, you should have seen 86th Street. I was astounded. The place was covered with people with huge buckets, marched with Mike. The bars on 86th Street had huge banners. You know that, how many years ago, was it 10 years ago, I worked with the American Committee for Ulster Justice.
Yes.
You couldn't get the Irish people in this country to do a thing. You couldn't get them to do it. They all didn't want to be. The feelings have changed enormously.
Yes.
I have to say that. It makes me feel so good. The whole of 86th Street, big banners, March with Mike, NorAid walked. It was very gratifying. And I am against the IRA, so you can imagine if I feel that way. You couldn't, when I was working with them, we couldn't get anything out of the people. They just, leave me alone, don't bother me. But they have become far more militant, far more
When
angry.
the Irish people boo Cardinal Cook in church, things are really should boo him in church.
Oh, you think he cares?
He don't care.
I think he cares very much.
Oh, you do?
Yes, I do. I think he cares very much. I think he also acted he did not bother me half so bad as the politicians, because
The politicians.
who dared
Moynihan
politicians.
Why not half
Well,
as
the
much?
three is
He bothered me
and
twice as
Kennedy,
much.
and they're all the three creeps anyway. The three of them.
There's four of them, Mama.
Creeps.
O'Neill.
Well,
Especially-
four of them.
Especially Kennedy. I was more mad at Kennedy than anybody.
This is, I think, something written by Caroline, who was a wonderful bard and a musician in ancient Ireland. He's mentioned in the Year of the French, Mama. Do you remember it at all? One of the great musicians and poets of Ireland,
Who was what?
Caroline, from way back when.
I never heard
This
of
is a piece of his music. He was a blind musician and poet. And Owen McCarthy, the poet and the school teacher in it, talked about him.
You know who I like to see, he's on once in a while with the flute, James Galway.
He's wonderful.
He's
wonderful.
wonderful.
Oh, I
He is
forget the night he
absolutely
played Danny
wonderful.
Boy in the flute. He was on, I don't know what show, with Dick Cavett, I think, when Dick Cavett used to be on.
He is. He's absolutely wonderful. I have one of his albums. Absolutely glorious.
This is Carrot Herbert.
Good night, everyone. It was nice seeing you.
Good night, Ellen.
To hang out?
Where's she going now? She's going out
To hang out.
to the carnival. Ellen,
It's early, Mama.
going
It's
off
only
again?
10 o'clock.
She was working before, now she's going out for
of
pleasure.
any kind. Goodbye, honey.
Tell them to
She come home last night slurring her words. I said,
I was tired.
she said I
didn't get
had
much
only
tired.
a couple of beers, but I was very tired.
It was true. I haven't
Long as
slept
you're not
more than 6
driving.
hours all week while I with my other jobs.
And I said,
Jobs? Does she have
she has
more than
2
one?
jobs. First, she had no job for a year, now she's got 2.
She has 2 jobs?
Yes, she's working.
Record.
That's
I hope it
that's
was on.
illegal, but that is.
Which is not the
Peggy, I thought I said play and record.
I have to tell you a
I
story
told
about
you
your
Mary
that
wants
the
to
tape
know.
is over.
Mary wants to know which one of us has the most money.
Because I'm going to
Sue.
put it there.
When it's over,
I don't know what
we'll
they
say,
are.
I have to let
I
me
have
know.
Are you sure that it's on
But it
now?
must be the time.
Listen, I have to tell you a story about your mother.
You looked
Well, you
and you
tell
saw it
about
going
yourself.
around.
Before we start that, I'll tell a story about what Geraldine is talking about, how Daddy came down on it was a Friday, and he said there are twins upstairs, and we were playing downstairs. I forget, we were playing with other kids.
Well, it
I
wasn't.
said, "Oh yeah, there is not." I think that during the time she was pregnant, he said that to us often to prepare us, but it was always
did
a
he
joke.
say?
There's a baby upstairs,
I bet-
and then there would be never a baby. Wait a minute. This day he came down and he said, there are twins upstairs. And, no, there are twins upstairs, And we said, well, I remember I said to him, well, then can we come up and see them? And he said, no, you can't come up, but later you can. So I just said, oh, he's fooling again. And I just ignored it. And then the next thing I remember is going upstairs.
I remember seeing them,
And
yes.
the twins were one on each end of the couch. And you were inside in the bedroom. And that's when he said, we got 2 babies, one for each of you. And Eileen can pick one because she's the oldest. So I picked the one on this end, and that meant that she got the other one. And years later, only a few years ago,
Geraldine said,
It certainly
did. It certainly did. Because Eileen and I are still fighting with one another.
That's right.
And it wasn't a
had
Friday,
to
it
do
was
with
on a
Daddy.
Wednesday.
Not Geraldine.
Huh?
That has to do with Daddy.
Wednesday
I
we were
think.
born?
Oh, not Geraldine.
Oh,
Yes,
yes.
I was going to say
Wednesday's
that it
child.
wasn't a Friday.
Wednesday's child has
Mama said, I wouldn't have
me,
remembered
isn't
a
that
day.
funny?
Monday's
I
child is
thought it was
fair-faced,
a
Tuesday's
Friday.
child is full of grace.
child is
Wednesday's
Child has got to go.
has far to go.
No. No, Wednesday's
child
child
is
is
Full of whoa. Thursday's
Thursday's
child has far to
Listen,
go.
Friday's
Friday's child
Is loving and giving.
living.
Saturday.
Saturday's child is
Works hard. It's
hard
loving
for
and
a
giving.
living.
That's Michael.
Saturday's
child
child
works hard for a living. And
And
Sunday
child
on
who's
Friday.
born on the Sabbath day every day.
Hello.
Wednesday,
I am-
Monday, and Day.
That's
Wednesday,
I am
Friday.
Friday's child.
3 odd days.
And Michael.
Loving and giving.
Loving and giving. And
And
Michael.
it's,
Right away.
Billy is
I
the
don't think so. I don't think of myself as loving and giving. Loving, not very giving. She always says how
Yeah,
she
I
likes
know.
it. I don't like
yeah,
to
loving
give.
and yes, giving. You're very giving. Yes, you are. You don't know it maybe, but you are.
I don't really think I am.
Well, I think so. You
When
are
I
to me.
choose to be,
Well,
I
don't
am. But
Well, who the hell isn't when they try?
That's right. And what is it to give
Everybody
if
is
you
when
don't
they
choose to give?
be.
I was in the convent, and the sister said, she called me up, the novice mistress called me up to the table, and she said, do you expect anything? And I said, yes, I do. My sister suppose is going to have a baby. And she gave me the thing. She said, "Oh, your sister had twin little girls today." So then everybody
Of
clapped.
course.
Everybody
How
clapped.
Wonderful.
Listen, can I ask you something? Aren't these dates on their tombstones over there, Mama?
I'm sure they must
Oh, sure they are.
I don't understand.
Well,
You've
why don't
all
we-
been over there.
Well,
You
you were
you
over there.
brought me stones from their graves,
right.
and you don't know the dates?
Is there dates in them? I don't
Oh,
know.
sure there
there's
are.
dates.
Yeah.
There's
They're
dates
probably
over there. Why didn't you go back and see them?
Why didn't you?
This,
The last time I was
Mama,
there, I
yeah,
didn't go to
yeah.
the grave,
I-
and the
they
first
almost
time I was
always
there,
do.
I was not
When I
as
go,
interested in